According to most scholars, the Dakshinamurti Stotram was composed about 1200 years ago by Shankaracharya. Among all the hymns, texts, and commentaries written by Shankara, this particular work is unique, like a precious gem, because it presents some of the most profound teachings of Advaita Vedanta in delightful verses filled with beautiful expressions and striking metaphors. Because of its complex subject matter, this hymn can be quite difficult to understand simply by reading it or reciting it. So, this presentation is intended to make Shankara's brilliant composition easier to appreciate. As you may know, Dakshinamurti is Shiva in the form of a guru, a teacher of spiritual wisdom. A traditional story says that Shiva once appeared as a youthful guru sitting at the foot of a banyan tree, surrounded by elderly sages who were eager to be taught by him. Yet Dakshinamurti remained completely silent. His silence signifies the fact that supreme truth, knowledge of Brahman, lies beyond all words and thoughts. So, instead of speaking, Dakshinamurti taught the sages by using a special hand gesture called chin mudra. The chin mudra is a symbol that represents the ultimate teaching of Advaita Vedanta, tat tvam asi, that thou art. These four fingers represent you as an individual person, while the thumb represents Brahman, the infinite consciousness that's the underlying reality because of which everything exists. The separation between these four fingers and thumb represents the state of ignorance, the state in which you consider yourself to be separate and different from Brahman. These three fingers represent your body, mind, and senses, and the index finger represents pure consciousness, atma, your essential nature. The chin mudra shows that atma, your true self, must first be distinguished from your body, mind, and senses. Only then can you discover that your consciousness is utterly non-separate from Brahman, the reality of all. You can see the chin mudra in Dakshinamurti's lower right hand. In his lower left hand, he holds a palm leaf manuscript that represents the Vedic scriptures, the source of spiritual wisdom. Most of the other iconography here is similar to other representations of Shiva. For example, he holds a damaru, drum, in his upper right hand, and fire in his upper left hand, symbolizing his power to create and destroy the universe. His right foot rests on apasmara, a demon who represents ignorance. There's much more symbolism here, but this much is enough for our discussion. The word dakshina means south, and murti means form. So, Dakshinamurti literally means a form of Shiva that faces south. Symbolically, south represents death, ignorance, and all that's undesirable. North, on the other hand, represents immortality, liberation, and all that's auspicious. It's appropriate that Dakshinamurti's disciples sit facing him, facing north, towards liberation, moksha, while Dakshinamurti himself boldly faces south, having transcended death and ignorance. It's highly unusual for the main deity inside a temple to face south. Usually it faces east. But Dakshinamurti is rarely the main deity of a temple, and instead is often found in a secondary shrine. Many Shiva temples, especially in South India, have a Shiva linga as the main deity. The linga is established in the temple's garbhagriha, the sacred chamber, which opens to the east. Worshippers often perform pradakshina, circumambulating the main deity, by walking around a corridor that encircles the garbhagriha. On the outer wall of the garbhagriha, the shrines of several other deities are located. On the south-facing wall, the shrine of Dakshinamurti is found. Now we're ready for the Dakshinamurti Stotram. The hymn consists of just 10 verses, but it's traditionally preceded by 5 dhyana shlokas, verses meant for meditation. These verses describe Dakshinamurti using the imagery and symbolism we've just discussed. Here's a depiction of Shankaracharya himself reciting the meditation verses and the hymn.
Maunavyakkya prakatita parabrahma tattvam yuvanam.
In perfect silence, a young teacher imparts knowledge of Brahman.
Varshishtante vasadrishiganair avritam brahmanishtaih.
To elderly sages, established in truth, sitting around him.
Acharendram karakalita chinmudramanandarupam.
The greatest of teachers, an embodiment of bliss, whose gesture bestows wisdom.
Swatma ramam mudita vadanam dakshinamurti mide.
Always smiling, being absorbed in the self, I worship him, Dakshinamurti.
Patavitapi samipe bhumi bhage nishannam.
Sitting on the ground at the foot of a banyan tree,
Sakala muni jananam jnanadataramarat.
bestowing wisdom upon the sages sitting before him.
Tribhuvana gurumisham dakshinamurti devam.
Guru of the 3 worlds, Lord Dakshinamurti.
Janana marana dukkacheda daksham namami.
Removing the suffering of birth and death. To him I bow.
Chitram batataror mule vruddha shishya guror yuva.
How amazing! At the foot of a banyan tree sits a young guru with elderly disciples.
Gurostu maunam vyakyanam sishyastu chinna samshayaha.
In perfect silence, the guru removes the doubts of his disciples.
Nidhaye sarva vidyanam bhishaje bhavaroginam.
Precious treasure of wisdom, medicine for the illness of worldly suffering.
Gurave sarva lokanam dakshinamurtaye namaha.
Guru of all worlds, to him, Dakshinamurti, salutations.
Om namah pranavartaya shuddha jnanaikamurtaye.
Salutations to him, the meaning of Om, the embodiment of pure wisdom.
Nirmalaya prashantaya dakshinamurtaye namaha.
To Dakshinamurti, the taintless abode of perfect peace, salutations. After these meditation verses, we can turn to the Dakshinamurti Stotram itself. Each of its 10 verses will be much easier to understand with a brief introduction. In the first verse, Shankara compares the entire universe to the imaginary world you experience each night in your dreams. When you dream, everything you experience arises inside your mind, yet it seems to be outside of you. Shankara says that the same is true about the world you experience when you're awake.
vishwam darpana drishyamana nagari tulyam nijantargatam.
Like a city reflected in a mirror, the world is within you.
Pashyannatmani mayaya bahurivo bhutam yata nidraya.
Arising in consciousness, like a dream, but appearing outside due to Maya.
Yas sakshat kurute prabodha samaye swatmanamevadvayam.
To him who bestows enlightenment by revealing all as the non-dual self.
Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Nama Idam Shri Dakshinamurtaye.
To Dakshinamurti, God in the form of Guru, salutations. After waking up from a dream, you realize that the world you experienced then wasn't real. It was a projection on your own consciousness. In the same way, after waking up from the dream of ignorance, that is, after you become enlightened, you'll realize that the world you experience all around you is also a projection. It's a projection on non-dual Brahman, which you'll understand as being identical to your true self, atma. Near the end of this verse are the words Shri Guru Murtaye Nama, salutations to him in the form of Guru. This expression not only refers to Dakshinamurti, but it also refers to your own Guru. Here, Shankara invites you to meditate on your Guru as being a form or embodiment of Dakshinamurti. Now, regarding the world you experience, where did it come from? How did it arise? In the Hindu worldview, the universe is cyclic. It goes through periods of manifestation and dissolution. After undergoing dissolution, it remains in an unmanifest state until the next cycle of creation begins. Then, like a sprout emerging from a seed, the universe becomes manifest once again.
Bijasyantarivaan guru jagadidam pran nirvikalpam punaha.
At first, the world was undifferentiated, like a sprout inside a seed.
Maya kalpita desha kala kalana vaichitriya chitrikrutam.
Then it became differentiated into time and space, projected by Maya.
Maya viva vrijrambayatyapi mahayogi vayasvechaya.
To him who created the world at will, like a magician or a powerful yogi.
Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Nama Idam Shri Dakshinamurtaye.
To Dakshinamurti, God in the form of Guru, salutations. Here, Shankara compares Dakshinamurti to a magician. Magicians have the skill to make something like a rabbit or bird suddenly appear before your eyes. So too, Dakshinamurti has the skill or power to make the entire universe appear. That creative power, wielded by Dakshinamurti, is the power of Maya. In the next verse, Shankara explains that Dakshinamurti himself is Brahman, the underlying substratum or fabric of existence upon which the entire universe is projected.
Yasyaiva spuranam sadatmakamasatkalpartakam bhasate.
His own conscious existence appears in the form of the projected world.
Sakshat tattvamasiti vedavachasa yo bodhayatyashritan.
With the Vedic dictum, Tat Tvam Asi, he imparts knowledge to his disciples.
Yat sakshat karanad bhavenna punaravrittir bhavam nidau.
Through which they never return to the ocean of birth and death.
Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Nama Idam Shri Dakshinamurtaye.
To him, Dakshinamurti, God in the form of Guru, salutations. Enlightenment is the result of realizing that you, Tvam, your essential nature as pure consciousness, is fundamentally identical to Tat, to Brahman, the fabric of existence on which the universe is projected. That fabric of existence is not inert. It's conscious, awareful. As Brahman, Dakshinamurti not only bestows existence on everything, but also bestows sentiency on all living creatures, being the infinite consciousness that pervades the universe. That very consciousness dwells in us all. It looks out through our eyes. It hears what comes in through our ears. It illumines all our perceptions, and in this way it reveals the world around us. In the next verse, Shankara compares that consciousness to a lamp inside a pot, shining out through many holes that represent our five senses.
Nana Chitra Gadodarastita Mahadipa Prabhabhaswaram.
Like a lamp inside a pot, shining out through many holes.
Jnanam yasya tu chakshuradikaranaddvara bahispandate.
It is his consciousness that shines out through the sense organs.
Janamiti tameva bhantam anubadhyetat samastam jagat.
Revealing everything in the world as I know it.
Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Nama Idam Shri Dakshinamurtaye.
To him, Dakshinamurti, God in the form of Guru, salutations. You experience the world around you, as well as everything that happens in your mind, because, fundamentally, you are a conscious being. Consciousness is your true, essential nature. Yet, most people don't think of themselves in this way. Instead, they identify themselves with their bodies and minds, and as a result, they consider themselves to be male, female, young, old, happy, sad, and so on. In the next verse, Shankara says that all such false identification is the result of ignorance.
Deham pranamapindriyanyapi chalam buddhim shashunyam viduhu.
I am the body, life force, senses, intellect, or nothingness. Thus they believe.
Stribalanda jadopamastvahamiti bhranta vrisham vadinaha.
Being completely deluded, like the weak, childish, blind, or dull.
Maya shakti vilasa kalpita mahavyamoha samharine.
To him who removes all this delusion, projected by the power of Maya,
Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Nama Idam Shri Dakshinamurtaye.
to Dakshinamurti, God in the form of Guru, salutations. This false identification is the root cause of all suffering. Dakshinamurti, in the form of your own teacher, has the ability to completely remove that false identification. Then you'll know very clearly that your true nature as pure consciousness is utterly unaffected by the problems of your body and mind. That pure consciousness is the divinity within you. It's the ever-present source of peace, joy, and contentment. As the light of awareness, it never ceases to shine within you, even during deep sleep. When the sun is covered by clouds or an eclipse, it continues to shine. So too, your consciousness shines continually, even during dreamless sleep, as Shankara explains in the next verse.
Rahugrasta divakarendu sadrusho maya samachchadanat.
Like the sun or moon covered during an eclipse, due to the power of Maya,
Sanmatra karanopasamharanato yo bhut sushuptaf puman.
your mind and senses are withdrawn during deep sleep, yet consciousness remains.
Pragasvapsamidi prabodha samaye yapratyabhignayate.
And, after waking up, is recognized as I slept.
Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Nama Idam Shri Dakshinamurtaye.
To him, Dakshinamurti, God in the form of Guru, salutations. The consciousness that shines, even when you're asleep, is present in every stage of life, giving continuity to your existence. Because it's always present, it might seem quite ordinary to you. But, as Shankara explains in the next verse, consciousness is anything but ordinary. It's the divinity forever shining within you.
Balyadishvapi jagradadishu tata sarvasvavastasvapi.
In the states of waking, dream, and sleep, and in every stage of life.
Vyavriddasvanuvartamanamahamityantaspurantam sada.
The very same consciousness shines continually as the true self.
Swatmanam prakatīkaroti bhajatam yo mudraya bhadraya.
To him who reveals the self to his devotees with his sacred gesture of wisdom.
Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Nama Idam Shri Dakshinamurtaye.
To Dakshinamurti, God in the form of Guru, salutations. With the Chin Mudra gesture, Dakshinamurti shows the identity of your individual consciousness with the all-pervasive consciousness of Brahman, the fabric of existence. Due to the power of Maya, countless forms are projected on that fabric of existence, as Shankara explains.
Vishwam pashyati karyakaranataya swaswami sambandhatah.
The world appears as cause and effect, as master and servant,
Shishyacharyataya tataiva pitruputradhyatmana bhedatah.
as teacher and student, as father and son, in different forms.
Swapne jagrati vaya esha purusho maya paribhramitah.
To him who sees all this, while awake or dreaming, due to the power of Maya.
Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Nama Idam Shri Dakshinamurtaye.
To Dakshinamurti, God in the form of Guru, salutations. You experience all those worldly forms due to the consciousness that dwells within you. And that consciousness is Dakshinamurti himself. So, Dakshinamurti is both the all-pervasive consciousness dwelling in every creature, as well as the very fabric of existence, the underlying reality because of which everything exists, as Shankara explains.
Bhurambamsyanalo nilombaramahar himamshuv puman.
Earth, water, fire, air, space, sun, moon, and consciousness.
Ityabhati characharatmakamidam yasyaiva murtyashtakam.
His eightfold nature appears in the form of sentient and insentient things.
Nanyat kinchana vidyate vimrishatam yasmat parasmad vibho.
The wise know that nothing at all exists separately from him.
Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Nama Idam Shri Dakshinamurtaye.
To him, Dakshinamurti, God in the form of Guru, salutations. Everything that exists is a manifestation of Dakshinamurti, so you can meditate on him in any form, including the form of your own Guru. Now, in the last verse of this hymn, Shankara describes the phala, the tremendous benefits you can gain from its profound teachings.
Sarvatmattvamiti sputikritamidam yasmadamushminstave.
Because this hymn reveals the self of all,
Tenasya shravanat tadartamananat dhyanatcha sankirtanat.
through listening, reflecting, meditating, and reciting it,
Sarvatmatva mahavibhuti sahidam syadishwaratvam swatah.
you can gain liberation, knowing your own consciousness as the self of all.
Siddhyetat punarashtadha parinatam chaishwaryam avyahatam.
And gain limitless freedom, as well as great yogic powers. Yogic powers are said to include the ability to become as tiny as an atom, or to grow to the size of a mountain. But greater than all such powers is moksha, liberation, through which you transcend all worldly suffering while alive, and after death remain utterly non-separate from Brahman. With this verse, Shankara concludes the Dakshinamurti Stotram. We'll conclude here with a mantra to Dakshinamurti that's often chanted for prayer and meditation.
Om Namo Bhagavate Dakshinamurtaye.
Om. Salutations to Lord Dakshinamurti.
Mahyam medham prajnam prayachya swaha.
Please bless me with intelligence and wisdom.
Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi.